The entranceway, we know that the parsonage faced Park Avenue.
Right.
And it was two-story home.
Right.
Will you tell us something about the floor plan of so that you remember?
Well, it had a central hall, and my office opened onto the porch and into that hall. And it was a small room. It was not very big. Across the hall from that was what had been the parlor. It had a fireplace in it, and both ministers had desks in that room, and they could light a fire and it wouldn't blow out.
That's where the ministers.
And that's where their office was.
Do you remember there being weddings in the parsonage, the old parsonage? Rather than heating up a whole church, that you could heat up that one space.
That one space, and with the fireplace.
With the fireplace,
And I suppose there were. I remember witnessing, somebody told me that I had witnessed their wedding, but it was in the church, they just went in there and had a couple of people as witnesses. But I don't remember any particular weddings in there during the time I was there. During the time I was there, Walter James came as a voice instructor at Florida State, and he was hired part-time as the choir director and the children's choir director. I might mention that the children's choir started when my sister and I were the age to be in the choir, and Mother made our little white vestments and had big red bows. So that was the start of the children's choir during that time. But Walt directed that choir, and one day
his wife was the
organist, part of us, when she could. But she was having children and sometimes didn't. But one day I was sitting in the office when the fire trucks drove up. And the fire department was across the park, about where the Doubletree Hotel is. There was an old post office building there that had become the city hall, and the fire department was right behind it. And they had seen flames coming from the roof of the parsonage. It had wood shingles. And the children were upstairs rehearsing for choir. And so they ran up and got the children out. They had seen this, and we didn't know it was happening. And got everybody out, and there was not a whole lot of damage because they had caught it early.
But they had seen it.
They had seen it from across the park. And thank goodness. But that was the most excitement I think we had while I was the secretary there.
Rubie, excuse me, go ahead.
I was going to say, we had no equipment. We had an old mimeograph machine that you had to pour the ink into and take a brush and spread it around. And the bulletins and everything were, no, we did not do the bulletins. We took those to Artcraft Printers that was down next to the fire department, and had it printed each week. I had to type up the service and the whole thing, and then take it over there for them to do and go back and proofread it. But we did everything else on that mimeograph machine, and it was a mess. That's all the equipment we had. If we sent out a church letter, I typed every envelope.
The address on every envelope.
Right, and the minister wanted me to use the small size envelopes, which meant to fold the letters, you had to fold them both ways. And I didn't have a lot of volunteers to help with that. But that was the job of the secretary at that time. It was an interesting experience, and I learned a lot, and changed my career pattern. I realized that one thing, I ordered the curriculum materials and distributed them, because there was no director of Christian education or any other staff at that time. And I realized they didn't know what they were doing a lot of times. They were willing to, and they could go and read the book to the children, but that was about it. And that made me realize that maybe there was something more I could do than just type letters.
In your time there had not been a big building, there was no building or anything purchased, land or buildings being built until 1948, and that was a big step for the church.
Well, yes.
And tell us something about that, because you had the 1893 church, you had the old parsonage from 1859, and now we needed to buy land further north so that we
had that land. We had bought that land, and there were 2 houses on it, and one of them housed, as I remember, maybe when I was still in high school. That's where the senior department met. The high school students met over
this is not the building. This is not the building with the garage apartment that the Scouts used.
No, there was a house in front of it, and there was another house where Trinity Hall is.
Okay.
And we had both of those. Or maybe, I don't know whether we had the Capitol Intel house. No, I know we did. We had the corner, because Ralph Houston, who was the associate minister, lived in that house.
That was further down, where the Terrell House became the Terrell House, right, yeah. Corner of Call and Duval. Corner of Call and Duval, yes.
And Ralph Houston and his wife and baby lived in that house. That was another job I had. Ralph was being ordained in the spring, and they were expecting their first child, and he didn't want her staying by herself, so I would go spend the nights with her, and scared to death because I didn't know if the baby came what I would do.
What you would be doing.
But anyhow, it didn't happen.
So the hospital at the time was Baptist out at
Dale
Mabry, yes.
Yeah, well, what had been Dale Mabry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,